In 4 weeks, Virginians will be going to the polls. Voters will elect a governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and all 100 members of the House of Delegates. Tonight you can see a live debate between two candidates for the Virginia House, Dickie Bell and Eric Kern, right here on TV3 at 7 p.m. And joining us now to discuss that race and the governor's race is JMU political analyst Dr. Bob Roberts. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Now, looking at the 20th District delegate race between Dickie Bell and Eric Kern, both seeking to replace Chris Saxman, with neither being an incumbent, does either have an advantage?
The Republican, clearly, Dickie Bell, the district is heavily Republican and hasn't voted for Democrat except for Mark Warner. So Kern has got to convince Republicans to shift party and vote for him.
What does each have to do in this final month, would you say?
In a sense, to make a case that I can be a better delegate than the other person. What Bell is saying, I'm going to be a good Republican, I'm not going to raise your taxes, I'm going to do what Republicans have always done. What Kern's going to say, we need to change. We need to have new ideas, green jobs, and Kern has to convince voters that, in a sense, the old established Republican ways won't work any longer.
Let's turn now, Bob, to the governor's race. Have attack ads taken over this race?
Attack ads are common. Generally, attack ads are used for two purposes. First, to mobilize your base to come out, and secondly, to influence independent voters. So there's really nothing new. We expected attack ads, and they're going to keep coming for the next month.
How much would you say the Bob McDonnell thesis when he was a graduate student at Regent University has hurt him?
It has hurt him with the women in Northern Virginia. In other words, what happened is Deeds wasn't doing very well with Democratic voters in Northern Virginia. The thesis has helped him get those Democrats back into the fold. But the question is, he has to win independents. And right now, he's not doing very well with independents in Northern Virginia. And if McDonnell can hold those independents, he'll win the race.
What has hurt Deeds?
Deeds, in a sense, hasn't made a good case of what he wants to do differently than, let's say, Tim Kaine or Mark Warner. He's got to make a case why his administration is going to be different. Otherwise, Virginians who are very conservative overall will say, we really are happy with McDonnell because he's not going to change things that much.
Well, but in a sense, though, both Warner and Kaine were elected and they were Democrats, so wouldn't he want to continue what they've campaigned on and what they did?
They were very, very different. In other words, Mark Warner came in after a long Republican reign with Jim Gilmore, who was not very popular. Tim Kaine was reelected when the economy was very good. Here you have a situation where Democrats particularly are going to want to do more public spending, etc., and there's no money. And simply there's no money, and the Virginians don't want to raise taxes. Therefore, it's a much more difficult position for Kaine than McDonnell, who can say, I'm not going to raise your taxes, I'm going to rely on small business. He doesn't have to spend money, while Deeds would have to spend more money.
What does each of these have to do in the final 4 weeks?
Deeds has to, in a sense, mobilize the Obama voters who came out in droves. Somehow he has to convince them that this is a race that is important. McDonnell has to basically say, if you don't like Obama, you don't like what the Democrats in Washington are doing, vote for me and send a message to Washington.
And is that message at this point seem to be resonating more?
Right now it is. I mean, the polls have closed down to about 5 points, but to make that final, if he can hold that anti-Washington sentiment, he could win it very easily.
All right, JMU political analyst Dr. Bob Roberts, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And a reminder, Dickie Bell and Eric Kern, the two men vying for the 20th District seat in the Virginia House of Delegates, will take part in a live debate right here on TV3 tonight. It airs at 7 p.m. You can also watch it live on WHSV.com and thenewsleader.com, who is also sponsoring the debate. And now let's send it to Mel in Stanton.